Hello and welcome to the latest video in our Getting Started with O&M Profiler series. Now in the last video we looked at fund research. This time around we're going to look at portfolio research. Very similar premise, but working with portfolios rather than funds. Now there's a few reasons why you would create a model portfolio. You might be looking to do target asset allocation, rebalancing between client portfolios, model portfolios. You might have default portfolios you use depending on risk, and you might want to use those in quotes. You might have DFM you want to use, all sorts of different things you can do in the system. What I'm going to show you in this video is very quickly how to compare a couple of model portfolios. I'm going to show you how to create a model portfolio and how to create a portfolio charge, which is basically what we use for a DFM in the system. So first things first, we're going to go into research portfolios. Now, worth bearing in mind that a lot of the portfolio research is only available on the standard and professional package. So when I come to create a model portfolio, I'll show you how you can do that in the essentials package. But really for model portfolios in essentials, you're using it purely for the quote ability rather than the other bits that we'll cover. So research portfolios. Okay, so first things first, looks very similar to what we've already seen in fund research, but this time, as I say, we're in portfolio research. So you can work your way along the top, viewing different information about the various portfolios, and you can also set up your own key indicators if you want. What you can also do as a result is you can do comparisons in this workspace. So if I click Russell Investment Balanced, that's one of the system supplied ones that I've got on my account. You won't necessarily have those. It depends if you're a member of a network, if you've asked us to add some in. If you use model portfolios, it's worth having a conversation with us, seeing if we've got any pre-programmed ones or if we can set yours up for you. But anyway, let's look at balanced versus cautious. So if I control and click, or if I prefer, I can use multi-select, turn that on, and then every click effectively becomes a control click. But I'm going to do control and click. And my comparison dashboard down the bottom shows me the difference between those two portfolios. Now, if you're not on comparison, you'll see over on the right here it says comparison 5 of 8, so I can see 5 of the 8 slides. If you're not on comparison, just click on the additional information and pick it from that list. As I said, there's 5 of 8. If I want, I can use quick compare, as we've seen elsewhere in the system, to filter that list down and show us some extra information about the two. But what we're going to do today is we're going to create our own portfolio. So click on Create Portfolio and then Create Model Portfolio. And let's fill in some information about this portfolio. So this is going to be there you go, my balanced portfolio. Now you can see we've got different sections down the side here. We've got risk profile, asset allocation and holdings. I'm not really going to go into the risk profile and asset allocations in this video. The context aware help will help you out enormously when you come to do that, but I will quickly summarize them as we go through. So once we've added in holdings, it will automatically work out our current risk profile depending on what we've picked in the risk profiling section of the system. And this is a feature that's only available on Pro, so if you haven't got access to this, don't worry about it. That's the reason there. As we haven't got any holdings at the minute, it hasn't picked any, you can set your target yourself based on this, or if you use the Morningstar risk questionnaire, it will associate a risk profile with the client and then you can inherit it from that. Next up is asset allocation. And it's all unknown at the minute because we haven't entered any holdings and we haven't set a target. Again, if you're using the Morningstar questionnaire, you won't get this section because each category of risk is associated with its own asset allocations and they're predefined. But if you're creating your own, you've got a 3-tier system. So you can pick a high level, pick equity, and I could put percentage in that. Or I can drill down to a second level. So I can say actually it's UK equity, put percentage in. Or if I want to go even further in, I can pick a third level and I can pick the type of UK equity it is. And then after you've done that, it's simply enter your percentage in there and click add and repeat that until you've got 100%. Again, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to keep it brief today. But if you want to go into that in any more detail, use the help system or, of course, give us a call and we'll happily talk to you about it. So let's head to holdings. Okay, so we've got our helpful text down the bottom here telling us what we need to do. We can use the Add Funds menu, which is this one, which you're hopefully very familiar with by now. We can add them from a pick list, just type in the ISINs in and add and repeat, or we can go into the fund research section and add them in. And that's what we'll do as we looked at that in the last video. So in fund research, we can simply search for funds, we can do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the fund list that we created last time out. So I'll go to fund list, load an existing list, and let's pick my approved funds. Okay, and I'm going to pick the InvestTech one that we looked at. The additional information comes to life, but what I'm interested in now is this new button, Add to Portfolio. Now this button only appears when you've come from a portfolio. So if you haven't got it in yours, you simply need to go into the portfolio first, then go through the route we just did. So Add to Portfolio, click on that, and you can see we've got our portfolio in there to add. Now this tick box underneath tells us what to do after we've added it, basically. So if this is the only fund I'm going to add, or if all the funds I want to add are on this screen, then I multi-select them and leave that ticked. Then when I click on Add to Portfolio, it'll take me straight back. If, however, you're going to do multiple searches and add additional funds in that aren't on the grid at the minute, you can simply untick that box, add them in, keep going until you add the last one in, tick that just before, and then back to your portfolio. And this time round, it's automatically prompted us to fill in the percentage invested. As I've only got the one fund, I'm going to keep it nice and simple in this case. I'm just going to stick 100% in there. And then OK. You'll see now we've got information about the portfolio. If I head back to asset allocation, we've now got current asset allocation built into that as well. And finally, if I go to my risk profile, you can see it's automatically assigned a current risk profile based on the criteria that I've got in options. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail about that, but it's useful to know that it's there and how that works. So let's go back home. Now, if I want to use that in a switching quote, it's dead easy. It's now going to be in my CIP list. So I'm going to go to the most recent switching quote I've done. And I'm going to head straight to new investment. And this time around, pick our CIP. If I look down the list, I've got my balanced portfolio. And if you do have a long list like this, it's worth bearing in mind you can simply type in that box there to filter it down. So if I search for my, immediately filters the list and gives me just the one I'm going to use. Put a tick in the box. It's going to, by default, the using rule is find me the cheapest version of that fund for each product. So I'll leave it at that and head to results. So each of these products has used a version of that fund, and you can see some at the bottom that don't have access to it. The fund's not available. So you'll either see, if it doesn't have access to that fund, you'll see that message, or you'll see a message saying that some of the funds are available on, if you've picked maybe up to 10, 15 funds, whatever it might be, that one of them isn't available on a particular product. We said we were going to look at how you would do this in the Essentials version, and we were also going to look at Portfolio Charge. So I'm going to combine those two, and I'm going to show you how to add those in. So those of you that have got Standard and Professional, you can create a portfolio charge in exactly the same way as we just did for the model. But those of you on Essentials, this is your route in to create either model portfolios or portfolio charges through the quote. So the rationale there is you'll get to this point in the quote and you say, actually, I do have a model to use, but I haven't created it in the system yet. Simply click on the CIP, create new model portfolio or create new portfolio charge. And indeed, you can edit them from here as well. So we're going to create a portfolio charge now. And a portfolio charge is a way for you to tell the products what charge to use for a particular set of funds, or perhaps you just want to see a blanket flat 1% across them all. You can do that in here as well. So let's create my DFM and head to portfolio fund charges. So you can do some quite clever stuff in here. You can do a different charge for every single product if you want, or you can do a flat rate as default and override a couple of them. I'm just going to do a default rate for everyone at this stage and set the charge to 0.68. Got standard growth rates for this particular one. Okay. And you can add in the holdings if you want as well to get the performance flowing through. Just for brevity, I'm not going to do that now, but you can do that in exactly the same way as you have elsewhere. So let's go back to the quote and scroll down, and you'll see now we've got my DFM in here as well. Let's use that instead. Head to results. And there you go. Every product in that system there is now used 0.68 for the charge for the funds. So hopefully you've seen it's relatively straightforward to create these things. What we haven't touched on today is client portfolios at all. And obviously you can do that throughout the system as well on the Standard and Professional version. If you want some help on that, if you want to understand how that works, then again, you've got the help menu, and we might cover that in a later video as well. And of course, as ever, give us a call. If you're ever struggling with the system, or if you're ever curious about how something works, pick up the phone, use the live chat, send us an email, whatever you want to do, and we'll be happy to help you out. All right, thanks for watching.